and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production channel here on YouTube, and welcome to another Wednesday review. And hopefully this is on a Wednesday and not even also later on a Wednesday. Well, that at least is a story that it will be saved for another time, but not for today. Today, I will be reviewing the debut full-length album from British heavy metal band. It is Bang to Rights from Heavy Sentence, which was released through Dying Victims Productions on May 28th. So, yes, Heavy Sentence are, of course, a British heavy metal band, even at times slight punkish style band in some cases too. But they're definitely a heavy metal band, and again, based out of Manchester, Greater Manchester, England, United Kingdom. And while looking at, of course, the Metal Archives, for their foundation date, I guess when they were formed, their year, well, it is NA right now, meaning not announced or whatever. So I can't really tell you when they were formed, but at least had to be sometime within the later mid parts of the 2010s, because their very first EP was released in 2017, titled Protector, with, I guess, Darkest Hour as half of it. I don't know. Then, of course, in 2018, they released their second EP, which is titled Edge of the Knife / Heavy Vengeance, which, of course, the song Edge of the Knife would be on the album that I'll be reviewing here. Then, of course, in 2019, they released a compilation titled 7 Inches on Tape. So, here we are, finally here with 2021, with their debut full-length album titled Bang to Rights. So, without further ado, let me get into my thoughts on this album from Heavy Sentence. Okay, so, Bang to Rights from Heavy Sentence. Before I really get into any of my thoughts on this particular album, let me, of course, do a track listing rundown. We have about 10 songs here. It all clocks in at 36 minutes and 28 seconds. So these 10 songs are Medusa, Cold Rains, Age of Fire, Edge of the Knife, Capitoline Hill, Heavy Sentence, On the Run, Wicked Lady, Possession, and then finally ending with Broken Hearts. So there's your 10 songs. So, since I pretty much almost know nothing about this band, and since this obviously shows up on my Bandcamp page, artwork is, very cartoony, cheesy, but it's got that DIY, not DUI, that almost seems, then again, you know what, this is the kind of music that almost would give you a fucking DUI. Anyways, enough fucking joking around. Anyways, though, the artwork is very DIY, and it's, again, I guess in some ways kind of fits the sort of the attitude of what the band definitely has here, the sort of piss and vigor that they definitely seem to really offer up with this album, because it is raw. It is very raw. I mean, it's definitely very typical of what you expect from this German label, being Dying Victims Productions, who does some great reissues as well to boot. But the whole music here, everything, it definitely has that almost old school new wave of British heavy metal attitude going on with this album, where it's almost at times it would definitely wouldn't be too out of place on like heavy metal records back in the day, or even at times Neat Records, or, for a really obscure reference, Guardians and Tapes Records. Yes, that label, which are Guardians Records and Tapes, I think they were called. They actually were the ones that released the very first Satan 7-inch, The Kiss of Death, and of course also other great albums from them, to like Burn This Town from Battle Axe, and even like Steel and Chains, I believe it was titled, from Spartan Warrior, that first Millennium album. Yeah, and the Rock Snack stuff, that label. And this wouldn't be too far out of place on that label as well, especially when you're listening to songs like, of course, the very last song, Broken Hearts, and even songs like On the Run, Wicked Lady, and then, of course, Edge of the Knife. They all have that very almost 1982, 1983 circa new wave of British heavy metal attitude going on with this album. Though with the song like On the Run, which has that sort of great, almost Vardis-like boogie going on with this track. Again, this would also wouldn't be too far out of place on, let's say, either at times Neat Records back in like 1981. This is almost what would be a perfect track for like a split or compilation record. It just has that going on here, and it's one of the reasons why I actually just grown to really love this album right from the beginning. I mean, there's nothing you can't love about this one, especially when it comes to even the vocals, which again is all sung by a guy named Gaz Howells. Yeah, Gaz Howells is apparently is his name, and his vocals at times very much reminds me of Spooky from the Belgium metal band Killer. His vocals very similar to that, and of course, I mean, very Lemmy-ish. And I know musically there's going to be a lot of comparisons to Motorhead. I mean, I've already reviewed that. Was it Volts? I think there were, no, was it? I forgot the fucking name of the fucking band that I just fucking reviewed about a month ago. You know what? Let me go find the art real quick. It shouldn't take too fucking long. You're just gonna hear me fucking. I know it's already just got fucking derailed. I guess Volter. Fucking Volter was the name of the band, who very much was Motorhead heavy. In their, not really like in heavy that, oh, this fucking heavy, but more so like they literally sound very heavy on the Motorhead influence. Whereas this one, you can hear the Motorhead influence for sure in their sound here, but in some cases it comes off more a little subdued in some places, but it still has that influence. I mean, then again, when it comes to a lot of bands who are trying to really recapture that sort of new wave or British heavy metal movement and that sound, most of the time you're going to come across bands that kind of has that Motorhead influence, because who wasn't influenced by Motorhead? Any of those bands, you know, who wasn't? Especially when it comes to the bands that had the new wave or British heavy metal movement, who wasn't influenced by Motorhead? They were basically the missing link between the first wave and, of course, the new wave. The first wave being, you know, the early heavy metal or hard rock bands or proto metal bands of the early 70s, and of course what came out within the late 70s or early 80s. They were that missing link, and that's a lot of those bands really heavily took their at least some sort of elements of Motorhead and really injected it into their music, and that's what you kind of get here. They're going back to that sort of period, and it's done greatly. I mean, songs like Medusa, Cold Rains, and then Edge of the Knife, and the song Heavy Sentence, which is actually named after them. So it's a band-titled song. Again, very good track too. It does kind of open up with a little bit of a synth, almost a very early 80s style synth sound, though. Almost at times, every time I hear that synth, I almost think of the old NES games, like Castlevania for some reason, or even the theme music to at least the Spawn video game that came out on the Super Nintendo. That sort of that kind of synth sound before it goes into another great sort of galloping, straight up, just whiskey soaked fucking new wave or British heavy metal inspired track. That it's just great, and On the Run again got very much that boogie feel going on. Again, I really dig it. Wicked Ladies also has another very cool riff going on there. It's another great track, and then of course Broken Hearts. They all just speed right through. It doesn't bullshit around. This is just a straight up fun and at times very good heavy metal album. Again, very raw in its production, but I think it actually adds to the overall appeal of this album. It adds to the atmosphere. It has a very live feel going on. Again, very garagey, but it works because it just sounds like a band just kicking the shit out of their instruments in the fucking garage and not really giving a damn what the fucking neighbors think. Or even a band that's playing on stage and are just fucking hammering out in the fucking pub while everyone is fucking drinking and eating their fish and chips. That's the sort of overall feel and atmosphere of this album, and it's one of the reasons why it elevates this album and a lot of the songs on here to definitely a much more higher level. It's very authentic, and I love it for a lot of those reasons. Might be throwback, might be retro, but you know what? Who gives a shit? It's all fun in the end, and it's just a great album nonetheless. So there we go. there is my thoughts on Bang the Rights, the debut album from the British heavy metal band Heavy Sentence, and my rating, let me look at my notes here, it's a 9.85 out of 10. Yes, that is the rating I'm giving this album. It is very much a solid, enjoyable album, for sure. And again, I should definitely point out that apparently the guitar player here, when I'm looking at Mike Woods, I guess this was like one of the last recordings he must have did for him before he sadly passed away in 2019. That's what I'm looking at, because while looking at the lineup here to kind of see what was the vocalist's name, I then saw that, and for a bit there, I had to kind of a little bit feel almost. I try to keep myself from almost being dumbed down, or not at least bogged down in terms of emotionally. Again, it sucks, but you know what? This is still a very solid album, and I hopefully that they are still able to bounce back from that. And hopefully this does, and hopefully I am at least one of the reasons for this band to really kind of get some recognition. I hope I'm one of the reasons, and I'm turning on some folks to this band, because I feel like this band is gonna be one of those that's gonna get lost in the shuffle. I don't want that. I don't want bands to get lost in the shuffle. But it's usually going to end up happening, but I hope it doesn't happen with Heavy Sentence. So to make sure, I'm going to leave you links to, of course, Heavy Sentence's Bandcamp page, and Dying Victims Productions Bandcamp page, and even Dying Victims' website, their shop, where you can purchase this particular album on CD, or even on vinyl, depending what is available at their website, on their shop. So you can at least support Heavy Sentence. You can listen to it, of course, on both the Dying Victims Productions Bandcamp page and the band's Bandcamp page. But I'm doing that so I can give some support and give them at least some good knowledge. And I hope all of you do. I hope all of you look into at least the description box so you can find those links. So with that, if this sounds like something that you're like, go check out those links. So with that, this is Heavy Thrasher saying I'm out. And I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.